This is Talk About Topeka on Gab Local TV and TV 25. This episode brought to you by Field of Greens and The Break Room. And here's your host, Chris Schultz.
Well, we're here in the gablocal.tv studios and we're talking about downtown today. Our friends from the Capital Journal are joining us here in the studio. We're going to be talking about all the fantastic things that have been going on in downtown, and they're putting together a spectacular section in the paper you're not going to want to miss. Joining me right now, first up, we have the president and publisher of the Capital Journal, Zach Ahrens is here with us. How are you, Zach?
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to have you here in the studio.
Good to be here.
Now, last time you were here, we were talking about the special feature you did for the 66 tornado.
Yes.
That was overwhelmingly cool.
It was a fabulous event. 112-page magazine, a robust website that people are still, we're still getting emails and people stop us and say, wow, I just saw something new. One of the videos, one of the interviews, one of the photos, all the great content that we had on there, and a great event.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Bill Curtis was
here
in
Curtis
town.
was there and very gracious and just, the right person to really celebrate, our community 50 years later, the rebuilding and everything.
So did you get to hang out with him?
Well, yeah, we did, and he was there for our VIP event, and again, just very, very comfortable reminiscing with some old friends and really some new people as well that he met, talking with people, interacting with the guests, and then giving an amazing presentation over at White Concert Hall for the public. And there were over 700 people that really got to enjoy that event.
Wow, his voice is so iconic.
So
does he talk like that in real life?
He does.
Or does he kind of go, hey, I'm Bill Curtis?
No, I tell you what, and I think that's a great point, because Chris, the person that we saw and the people saw on stage, that's Bill Curtis.
That's
just
cool.
A genuine person that really cares about Topeka, someone that we should really be proud of. That claims Topeka as home.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad. That was so great. So many people mentioned the section. Of course, we really enjoyed it. You saw that in the paper if you're a subscriber that came to you. Now, there's another section that's coming out that we're really, really excited about. Some important things that are happening here in Topeka with downtown. Now,
yes.
You guys have put together a special section for that as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep, absolutely. So what this is, and you're going to enjoy it in the paper on Sunday, the 26th, is 44 pages of wonderful stories, photos, timelines. If for me, I've got to consume all this content in different ways, right? So I get little nuggets of this in the sidebar and just taking it all in. But really what it is it celebrates what's happened since, in a lot of ways, 162 years of history, right? Mm-hmm. From point A to point B and then beyond. Mm-hmm. And it really, you've heard a lot of the names of people that are really influential in some of this process downtown and this growth. Some of the storefronts, mm-hmm. I remember it as this building or that building, this is what it's looking like today, and this is what it might look like down the future. All those things, this is what it is, and it all comes together in Sunday's paper.
Now, how does something like this come together? Does your staff just kind of brainstorm these ideas for things to do, and then it's like, hey, this is a good idea, and then bring it together? How does that work?
Well, a lot of it I think comes from just relationships and us trying to be involved in the community and really trying to be at the table for these different discussions that happen. And I know we'll have a couple of our team members on the show here in a little bit that can give a little bit more, background on that. But what I can tell you is it started off as maybe something that we thought was a little smaller than what it ended up being. Mm-hmm. And I know they'll talk a little bit more about that. And I think that's just the momentum that we're seeing. We talk about the 50th anniversary of the tornado. We talk about this. This is coming. You and I got to visit just a few weeks ago, mm-hmm. right? And here we are talking about something else great that's happening. And just the revitalization of downtown and all these other projects. That really the Capital Journal is an institution that wants to support the growth of our community, wants to be involved in. So I think this is going to be one of many conversations that just keep kind of spreading through this revitalization that's taking place in our community.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about the evolution of this project. It started out, I know we said it was going to be like an 8-page feature.
Right, yes.
And now we're 40 pages. That's
right.
Pretty cool.
It really is. And something that has impressed me since this whole process is, a lot of times as more businesses say, I want to put my support behind this and I want to be a part of this publication because we believe it's going to have a long shelf life. I believe it's going to be shared a lot, electronically. We're not just a newspaper, but, mm-hmm. The digital audience that we have and the digital assets and how we can present content even to wider audiences, right? Mm-hmm. We want people to look at this and say, man, there's something special about Topeka. There really is. And so we couldn't say it in 8 pages or 10 pages or even beyond that. And so 44 is where we, kind of like an artist, you finally put your brush down and say, okay, it is finished for now,
yeah.
right? What also impresses me, though, is a lot of times as more business partners come on board and want to show their support, it becomes too ad heavy, right? What I like about this is the content in the newsroom and just the quality of journalism that comes out of the Capitol Journal kept up with that, right?
Yeah.
So every time we'd come and say, okay, it's 24 pages. Nope, okay, try again. It's 28 pages, and now it's 44. The content kept up with it, and it's very, very strong. So I think people will see this not only as a good way of saying, okay, these are the businesses that are branding themselves and saying, we believe in this community, but also here's the content that really supports, through narrative, what's going on.
Of course, and the Capitol Journal has, one of the biggest staffs dedicated to covering, I call it our history in the making. Really, it's what it is. My mom saw the section in the newspaper about the '66 tornado, got that special issue, called me up, told me all about it, and then she pulled out of her cedar chest from 1966 a piece that was presented at that time of all the pictures that were taken, and just to keep that. That's what people do. They keep these things.
Absolutely,
and it digitally becomes a piece of our history, right?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because when you think about it, we're capturing that institutional memory of what's taking place. And I believe, just as in a different light, the 1966 tornado, how valuable those photos were and those interviews and just us recording what happened through pros, this is what happened in the aftermath and the rebuilding and all of that. I believe people will look back, and my grandkids maybe, at this is what Topeka looked like in 2016. These are the seeds that were planted in 2008, and we'll walk people through, our readers, through the timeline that led up to this point. Those were the seeds that were planted. This is why it is what it is. Fun stuff. That's why that street has that name, or that's why that building is named that. This is the legacy that we're celebrating, and you're right. Our colleagues in some other newspaper and media organizations have kind of cut back their staff a little bit. We've made the conscious decision to keep the feet on the street, telling the story of things that are going on, and that's been important to us, from our Capitol coverage of having, the State House reporters and the strong that we have, to everything else we do. And that's the other thing is, we're still putting out a newspaper every day, right? We're still, communicating with our large audience through social media and through our website and all the other products and services that we provide. That's what amazes me when I stop back, and I'm just the publisher that's the beneficiary of a great staff. We were able to do this and still do all the other stuff that we do. And I think that just reminds me of how deep of a bench we really have and how much strength we have in our newsroom.
Absolutely. A commitment to excellence over at the Capitol Journal. Certainly do want to thank Zach Ahrens for joining us, the president and publisher, to tell us all about this section. We're going to have some of their staff coming up to talk a little bit more in depth with it, coming right after this.
Brought to you by Field of Greens and the Break Room, because TV 25 cares.